Hi, I'm Chelsea Cooper, founder and CEO of Approvely, and we're on a mission to secure business against fraud. This is Aaron, who 6 months ago opened an online travel company. Everything was going great until Aaron received notification that thousands of dollars in fraudulent transactions had been processed through his website. His Stripe account was closed and his funds were on hold. In fact, this happens to many businesses who set up online payments through companies like Stripe, Authorize.net, and PayPal, because these companies don't support businesses with a higher level of risk. And fraud has an annual cost of $21.6 billion. But we have a solution that reduces this problem by 65%. We've created a payment gateway with a guaranteed authentication at the time of sale. Let me explain. First, we target businesses that have an abundance of fraudulent transactions. Through our system, transactions are authenticated in real time. Transaction data is sent directly to the card brands, forcing them to take responsibility for fraudulent transactions. Liability is shifted, and fraud is reduced by 65%. Let's take a look at our API that'll be available in our developer guide at the bottom of our website, and you'll see features like tokenization, recurring and subscription billing, and invoicing. This makes it super easy for businesses to integrate our system into their existing website. Let's go ahead and log in. Companies will be able to access the login at approvely.io using their secure credentials. And what you'll notice right away is that we have created this user interface to be extremely easy to use. This is a manual transaction that's being processed using the card number, expiration date, and security code. Now, if a business has set up an integration with us through online payments or recurring and subscription, all this will happen behind the scenes. They can take a look at transactions that have already been processed, or they can create an invoice and send a request for payment to their customers via email or text message, like this one. And that's it. That is the beauty of our system, is we have created this so that all of the authentication and fraud screening is happening behind the scenes. So businesses don't have to take any additional steps to authenticate and protect their transactions. And at the end of the day, they'll receive a daily recap email, which shows them all their transactions and the authentication report. Our market size is huge. In fact, it's growing year over year. And we expect that trend to continue well into the future. With the rise of digital payments comes the rise of digital fraud. And so today more than ever, this technology is super important for business. We have two ways we charge our clients. One, as a standalone product, which can be virtually integrated into any payment solution out there. And the second is if we can capture not only their authentication business and leverage our knowledge of high-risk payments, we can significantly reduce their overall cost. We understand our competition. We know we're not the only fraud solution or payment provider out there, but we are the only one that specializes in high-risk payments. I'm Chelsea Cooper, founder and CEO, and I've spent the last 10 years growing and scaling payments companies. And our head of technology, Daniel, has 22 years building software and running development teams. So let's go back to Aaron and his travel company. After switching to Approvely, they've significantly reduced their fraudulent transactions, and by doing so, secured the most important part of their business, accepting payments. But it's not just about Aaron. It's about countless other businesses that have this same problem. And we know it's a problem because the Federal Reserve was quoted saying, payments fraud represents a drag on economic activity. So today more than ever, we feel driven to lead the way in creating technology that revolutionizes the impact that fraud has on business. So I invite you to visit approvely.io to get started today.
Hey, Chelsea, thank you for the presentation. I know the space quite well. I was an investor in a company called Simility that was actually acquired by PayPal. Are you focusing on behavioral fraud or just transactional fraud?
Transactional fraud.
Do you plan on getting into behavioral fraud? Because what they found, Simility found, was it wasn't just the transactional data that kind of uncover, that you could uncover this was fraudulent, but it was more all these weird holding companies and LLCs that were created that you couldn't actually verify. What is your, what is your plan to kind of tackle that?
So we've been looking at this technology from the standpoint of the biggest coverage rate with the least amount of friction for a business to set it up. And from there, we can expand into other areas. One of the areas that we focus on as well is friendly fraud, which has to do with when a customer actually does make a legitimate purchase, does go to a website, and then later disputes it. And so we have a super good coverage rate on being able to protect businesses against the friendly fraud side of the business. The other thing that we noticed is that a lot of times businesses want these protections, but there's such a big development side to implement them. So with the technology that we've created, we want it to be very simple for a business to be able to integrate this into their existing, stack. And from there, we can look at other ways in which that we can expand to provide additional coverage for them.
Are you reducing fraud or by like that 65%, or are you like passing the liability of that fraud onto the credit card companies?
So this technology it's both, right? Because essentially liability is being shifted to the card brands themselves. But on the side of the business, they have the option to choose if they want to move forward with a transaction if we're not able to authenticate it. So on that, 35%, we expect that some businesses will still want to move forward with it. And in that case, obviously we can look at additional ways to cover those transactions.
Chelsea, who's your ideal customer?
Yeah, so in my past venture, I actually was working with a partnership with one of the biggest payment solutions out there. And we handled all of the merchants that actually got shut off. So we had an exclusive relationship with them, about 2,000 to 3,000 clients a month just from this one partnership. And that is the area that we're focusing on. So online, a lot of recurring and subscription, businesses that are not being fully underwritten, because as you know, a lot of the solutions that I named, Authorize.net, PayPal, Stripe, they don't actually do a full underwriting up front. And that's where we focus is. So I've, spent 10 years in the space, but naturally a lot of the time has been spent in high risk. So, and a lot of that has to do with the fact that these accounts need to be receiving a full underwriting.